They give him presents. They start to smile at him, they say hi to him, okay? But the new kid just ignores everything, right? And then the friends are like, you know what? We don't actually benefit this much from this relationship anyway. Maybe if we appoint this new kid as the new bully, the new boss, he'll treat us better. And then you have other friends who are like, you know what? This bully, he's fat, he's ugly, maybe I should be the boss, okay? So just because a new kid comes in, doesn't know the rules, and he's willing to challenge the reality, challenge the assumptions, the values of this cafeteria, now there's dissent, now there's rebellion going on, okay? And different people are talking to him and trying to form alliances with him. But what he does, and it's really interesting, is that he just ignores everyone and keeps focused, okay? And then one day, the bully's friend comes over and says, you know what, you're a whip. And the new kid finally says, I'm not afraid of you, okay? And then this friend goes back and tells his boss, hey, this new kid said, he's not afraid of you, man. What are you gonna do about it? And the bully gets really angry and says, I'm going to go punch his face, okay? So the bully goes in front of the new kid and says, if you don't apologize, I'm gonna punch you in the face. And the new kid's like, what did I do wrong? What should I apologize for? And the bully's kind of confused, so he goes away, comes out next day and says, you apologize now, man! And the kid's like, okay, for what? Tell me to apologize for what? And this goes on for a long time, okay? And then eventually, the bully gets so pissed off that he punches the new kid in the face, okay? So he started it. The new kid, he's hurt, but he decides to punch the bully back in the face, okay? And the bully's stronger, so he beats the bully up. So he beats up the new kid. But what's happened now is that everyone in the school has seen that the bully is not that strong. Everyone's seen that the bully is actually pretty weak. And so they recognize that, hey, if we stand alongside the new kid, we can beat the bully. All right? And eventually what happens is the bully is defeated. Does that make sense to you guys? All right, so certain things to understand is that, yes, the bully has escalation dominance because he's stronger and he's the biggest kid in the school. He can beat up everyone. But what wins the fight is control. What wins the fight is calibration, strategic flexibility. The fact that the new kid has many different options and he's picking the option that is most strategically advantaged to him. Okay? Now, and what you will notice from this example is the bully doesn't have that many options, actually, because he needs to maintain the idea of face or credibility, right? This is the essence of his power. His power lies in the fact that if you do not listen to him, if you do not obey him, he will come and beat the crap out of you. Right? That's credibility. And but the moment that you show that it's actually not that big of a deal to be punched by him, he's not that strong, then he loses all credibility. Okay? Which means that he either retreats or he's forced to strike harder, to kill you. Okay? To maintain his credibility. So another way of saying this is that by calibrating your movements strategically, you can manipulate the bully into self-destruction. Does that make sense to you guys? All right? Any questions? Okay, so that's a theory. All right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to apply this theory, the law of escalation, to what's happening in the Middle East. Okay? We're going to do that by looking at the escalation ladders of both Iran and the United States. All right. Okay. This is the US. This is Iran. Okay, so let's look at their escalation ladder. So the first thing the United States does, of course, is something called decapitation. What is decapitation? Decapitation is like, I just kill your leaders, you don't have any more leaders, and therefore you don't know what to do, and therefore you surrender, okay? That's the first thing the US did. It didn't work. So now what the United States is doing is attacking military targets, air defense, and military bases, okay? That's the second step. And the idea is that you beat the crap out of the military so they surrender. But that didn't work either, okay? So then what you do next, of course, is economic embargo, where you basically prevent Iran from trading with the world, right? Prevent Iran from selling oil to China, basically, by blockading the seas. And the idea here is that if the government doesn't have any money to pay its soldiers will just not fight, okay? But that's not working either. So then what you do, of course, is you attack civilian infrastructure, okay? Which is primarily water and oil. So you may have seen the news that the Israelis attacked an oil depot in Tehran. And now if you look at pictures of Tehran, it's all black, okay? And this is a war crime, or this goes against international law because you're attacking civilians. But that's what you do when you feel as though you need to apply more pressure to win this war, okay? And so you can keep on escalating. And then what you do is that now that you've attacked the civilians and they still refuse to surrender, what you do now is you use secret weapons. Secret weapons might be advanced missiles that no one's ever seen before, okay? And the point of these secret weapons is to scare the crap out of people and say, you see how dominant we are, okay? If that doesn't work, then what you do next is use biological and chemical weapons, okay? Biochemical weapons. Doesn't work either? Then, guys, nuclear weapons. All right? So what's really important for us to understand is that you must follow this escalation ladder if you are to use nuclear weapons. And the reality is that, first of all, we have not seen secret weapons. We have not seen biochemical weapons, and therefore nuclear weapons comes later, okay? Unless I see biochemical weapons being used, I refuse to believe that nuclear weapons is on the table, okay? All right, so I think we are here, which is the beginning of attacks on civilian infrastructure. But already we're seeing arguments in the American political system against the use of weapons against civilians, okay? The reason why is that if you do this, okay, if you destroy civilian infrastructure, you unite the people behind the government. Because the idea is that you use airstrikes to split apart the government and the people. And you want the people to overthrow the government for you, okay? That's the idea here. So we are at this stage, meaning that we have a long way to go before we hit nuclear weapons, okay? All right, so now let's look at the Iranian escalation ladder. So what's happening is that in the beginning, Iran does two major things, okay? The first is attack military targets, okay?